Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where we're in the process of figuring out a slightly new format to squeeze out some extra content. Bear with us. We are here to wrap up talking about Seeking Justice, which is a middle-of-the-road movie that could have been, honestly, genuinely fantastic, but was nonetheless entertaining. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined, as always, by your other hosts, Rich and Ryan. How are we feeling wrapping up this film? I know we've been having a fun time, talking in general, but as far as the film goes, how you guys feeling?
I mean,
I feel like we're getting to the good parts.
I just fucked up the recording because I made a mid-tier Rick and Morty joke.
Canceled.
You get
But no,
canceled
you
just for mentioning Rick and Morty?
You
God
did it in
damn.
a different voice. It's fine. It's still gonna fucking go for another 10 seasons. So
We're gonna get a Rick and Morty movie before we get a fucking Community movie, and I'm gonna be so sad.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably gonna happen. So where we last left off, we essentially had a very nice closed first act of this film, right? We have the introduction to our characters, we have the defining moment, we have the choice of the protagonist to engage in business with this shady organization that he is not familiar with in order to enact revenge. And now we are 6 months later and dealing really with the fallout from this defining moment in the beginning of the film. So Laura and Will are out at a bar playing pool, which is good. This seems like to be a good sign for Laura, who is a little bit paranoid, again, understandably, at home. She wants to change the locks. She wants to put bars on the windows. She wants to get a gun, does get a gun, doesn't tell Will about it. But they're out in public then, and they're playing pool. During this pool game, Will gets a call from Simon telling him to come outside to talk and to go to the convenience store next door.
So this bar is one of the only times I was able to realize that it was in New Orleans, even though they mentioned it a bunch of times. This is the only time it actually feels like New Orleans.
The beginning Mardi Gras scene when they're out dancing and like this, and that is as
there's one more. There's a scene where
hotel?
It's the one where there's like a parade that shows up randomly around a corner. The cop car pulls around the corner and it's trailed by a horn section.
And it just made me stop and watch that Hannibal Buress stand-up bit about that bachelor party you planned. Yep, 100%. Which also, by the way, was the only context I had that made me go, oh yeah, that's New Orleans. I know about that. Hannibal Buress told me about it. Not me personally, you know what I mean? He told
he told you personally.
There. Yeah. Anyway, so
don't get humble. You and Hannibal are tight.
Best friends. So on the phone, Will is instructed to go into this convenience store, buy a pack of gum, and then go out the back entrance. So he does this. Outside, Simon is waiting in the back of a car and tells Will to get in to talk. So here's the bit that Rich mentioned in the first episode, which is genuinely hilarious. Why fucking buy the stick of gum? Why not just fucking cut through an alley to go back to where the fucking car is sitting? The gum does not matter at all. They're just making them do shit because it's fucking hilarious.
It is real funny.
It's like, imagine the scene in the first Matrix movie where Morpheus is giving Neo all those instructions in his office job, but none of it matters and he's just fucking with him.
Yeah, fucking go into the bathroom, flush the toilet twice, jiggle the handle,
shake your dick,
piss in the sink.
You are at a Philadelphia Eagles game. You are to piss in the sink.
Now get on Reddit and go on /r sink pissers.
Is that a subreddit?
It is. It's mostly guys. It's guys that are pissed off that their wife is pissed off that they're pissing in the sink. Mostly.
That's fucking insane.
All right, you guys talk. You guys talk about this movie. I'm going on to our sink pisser.
That might not be the actual subreddit, but I know there is one floating around there. I've seen fucking screenshots.
No, it's sink pissers. It was.
I am bothered by the psychology there. I really am. I really am.
33,000.
It's because you save water because you don't have to flush.
That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. Do you know how long humanity had to live without fucking indoor plumbing? And you do that shit? That's disrespectful, is what it is.
This is the wildest subreddit I've ever seen in my life.
You're welcome.
Disrespectful.
Made this sink my little bitch.
So it's about the disrespect. It's explicitly about being disrespectful. Okay.
Yes, 100%.
That makes sense.
It's like it's gotta be 50-50 dudes that are just Neanderthals, and the other 50% is just it's a sex thing. It's 100% a sex thing.
This subreddit could have just been called r/dudes rule. Like, that's what this is. All right, back to the movie. Enough sink pictures for right now.
All right,
I'm sure this will crop back up at some point.
Yeah, I don't remember a sink pissing scene in this movie, but we'll shoehorn it in.
Yeah.
There's a pissing scene in this movie. We'll get to it.
Pissing scene? All right, well, let's get to it. I take copious notes. If there was a pissing scene, I have notes on it. So Simon tells Will, he hands him a letter, and he says, you need to go to the zoo at 4:15 tomorrow and mail this letter. And Will's like, what is this letter? He's like, it's a letter to Santa, and it's clearly labeled to Santa at the North Pole.
My favorite thing about it is it has a stamp.
It does have a stamp.
Does it have a zip code?
No, but it has a stamp.
Okay.
It's got two lines. One of them says Santa Claus. The second one says North Pole.
That letter is not getting to its destination.
One more thing about /r sink pissers. Here's the community info. The home for everyone who wants to save 7 liters, 2 gallons of water each time they pee.
Well, when you put it that way.
No.
You shouldn't put it that
way. Are we?
No.
Are we all
not condone this?
Are we?
If you
all
care that much, dig a fucking latrine, you animal.
Yeah, anyway. Sure. I'm just gonna throw something in the group chat real quick.
Oh, are we all on sink pissers right now?
I'm not. I'm focused on seeking justice for sink pissers.
Okay, all right, hang on. We're gonna see what Ryan said. This works really well in an audio format.
I was gonna say, not good radio. Oh, Jesus Christ! All right, that is a good picture though. That'll be the episode image.
No, it won't.
We're gonna tag for fetish content, man.
Yeah, no, it won't. I wish I could.
Just do a tiny URL link to it in the description of the episode. All right.
I need to stop looking at this because I'm just gonna not be able to stop laughing.
So
I'm gonna put it up on the $1 Patreon. Okay, go ahead.
So Simon says that Will needs to mail this letter at 4:15 the next day. Will asks if he's even after that, and Simon says that it's not up to him. Very vague, right? Will collects Laura from the bar and they head home. The next day, Will goes to mail the letter. He gets a call as he approaches this mailbox at the zoo and is instructed to open the letter. Inside this envelope, there is a picture of a woman and some children and a picture of a man. He's told to go into the zoo and follow the woman if she shows up. And if the man shows up, to call the enclosed number and say, "The hungry rabbit jumps," our stupid catchphrase. Will does as instructed and spots the woman and the kids. The woman leaves without incident, and so does Will. He doesn't see this man that he's supposed to be looking for. When he gets to school the next day, he sees a phone number written on the whiteboard in his classroom. It's the
same phone number as the one he was given in the envelope.
And the hungry rabbit jumps is also written on there.
Oh, I missed that one.
It's above the phone number.
Gotcha.
Oh, I missed that too. Okay.
Yeah, he calls the number and is understandably perturbed. But Simon is actually on the other end of the line and also directly outside of the school when Will walks out talking on the phone. So Will wants out. He says he's done, but Simon says he needs to do one more thing. Simon doesn't get to finish this thought because he gets called and somebody says the hungry rabbit jumps and Simon has to take off. So later on, Will bumps into a guy who then says, "Oh, you dropped this," and hands him an envelope, right? Insisting that Will dropped it and walks off. So this is, by the way, if you're paying attention to faces and shit, this is the same dude who drove that guy off of the top of the parking garage in the beginning scenes of this film.
And was also the driver in the SUV when he goes through, gets the gum and goes out the back entrance.
Yeah.
Correct. So in the envelope is more pictures of the kids from before and the man, along with what looks to be like a dossier of some sort. Will arrives home and Laura invites him to go out to dinner. He receives a call from Simon, who has more instructions for him. Simon tells him that tomorrow he is to kill the man in the file by knocking him over a ledge at like a bus station overpass, right over a highway. He says it'll look like a suicide. It's fine. Will pushes back on this idea, but Simon just fucking ignores him. Will is understandably acting a bit strange. Laura notices this and kind of calls him out about it, but he assures her there's nothing wrong. He's stressed about work or something like that, but he basically brushes it off. But he's clearly acting fucking weird, like anybody would in this particular situation.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Simon says is, oh shit, I just realized that. God damn it. Did you
Yeah, I caught it.
I caught last one to the fucking party on this, because now I feel dumb.
Yeah, when he first gives him his first mission, I was like, "Oh, Simon Says, very clever, very."
Now
cool.
I'm annoyed. I'm deducting points for that one, man. God damn it, ham-fisted, folks.
Look, they needed a script doctor who would be like, "You think that's clever, but it's not. Cut it."
Correct.
I agree.
So anyway, when Simon gives him these instructions, he says, you're gonna have car trouble tomorrow, and you're going to have to take the bus to work, and you're going to get off at this stop, and this guy takes that stop into work, and you're going to wait on the overpass, and you shove him off, and it's going to look like a suicide. There's a camera, but we've got that handled. And I will say this for Simon. He did set the scene for this by putting the thought in Will's head that one of the things that they ask these people to do is shit like block a camera or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So this is a pretty decent setup and not overly ham-fisted like the Simon Says shit. The next morning, sure enough, when Will goes down to the parking garage, he has a flat tire. His tires have been slashed explicitly, which is a little suspicious. You can't make it, a little bit more subtle, just in my opinion. So Simon takes the bus, and he is approaching the station that he's supposed to kill the man at, but he doesn't get off the bus at this station. He takes it all the way to the school, goes in and teaches his class, clearly distracted. After this, Simon approaches him, and Will says, I'm out. I can't kill somebody. I'm not that guy. You already had me follow somebody. That's enough, but I'm done. And Simon goes, this dude is a child pornographer. You know how terrible that is, right? And Will's like, I'm done. I'm not a murderer. I can't do this, which is fair, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Refusing to participate in a murder.
I think so.
Later that night, Will and Laura go out to dinner, and Laura's asking why somebody would slash their tires and continues questioning Will's recent behavior. She's a bit sensitive to this shit, and also Will is acting fucking weird as shit. In the middle of their dinner conversation, however, Simon shows up and is like, oh, hey, Will, remember me? We used to teach over at wherever. I can't even remember where he said. And Laura invites him to sit for a drink. Will is terrible at hiding his emotions and feelings, so he seems suspicious as hell. So even though Laura invited him to, and Simon sits down for a drink, Will's like, I'm sorry, we're having a private dinner and you're kind of interrupting. And Simon's like, oh, no, yeah, of course. And gives Will a card with his number on it and says, give me a call sometime. Let's catch up. So Will and Laura go home. And when they get home, they have like those magnetic alphabet letters on the refrigerator. And somebody has arranged them to spell out the word choose.
It's not the right word to spell out with those. The right word is fart.
Yeah, it's always the right word. Or cum.
Cum is a good one. I mean, if you can get cum fart in there, ooh.
Yeah.
I'm just breaking down what our Jackbox games always degenerate into, and it's always something clever versus cum, and cum always wins.
Every
cum
fucking
wins every time. It always sticks the landing.
And it'll always come down to somebody versus Josh, and Josh puts thought into it, and it's something clever and funny, and we all get a laugh, and then someone just writes cum, but puts like the 2 dots over the U or something, and
Cume.
You umlaut the cum.
Yeah, and it's like,
You
okay, well
accent
that's
the cum.
funnier. Sorry,
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
that's funnier than Mondays. Am I right? That is an inside joke.
That's a deep cut there.
We'll get to it on the World Trade Center episode.
Yes, we will. That might be a fucking 3-parter. And
we'll make some shirts.
And not for nothing, we might have to paywall all 3 parts of that one. I don't know how that's gonna fucking go. Or it might be the most bleeped episode in Nick Cage Fight podcast history. I'm not sure how that's gonna go.
One of the 2 ways, 100%.
Yeah. We'll have to see. That's gonna be a wild ride. So, all right. So Will knows somebody's been in the house, and he does the most unsubtle checking every room in the house with his on high alert wife. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "Have you seen my bag?" And she's like, "It's right there." This interaction is ridiculous. Will is not good at this shit at all. So Will says, "Oh, I think I left something in the car," and he goes outside and he calls Simon. Well, he calls the number on the card that Simon gave him, and it's the funeral home. And the dude who answers, who is not Simon, is like, he knows who Will is, and he's starting to talk to him, but this conversation is interrupted by a good Samaritan who knocks on Will's window to say, "Hey, you know your tires are slashed, right?" So Will, for whatever reason, doesn't stay out there and call again and complete this conversation, and goes back upstairs to the apartment. When he gets back up there, the door to the apartment is open, like wide open. And the refrigerator with the magnetic letters that he had scrambled just moments previously are back to spelling out the word choose. That is pretty creepy. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So the next day, Will leaves for work and gets on the same bus route. He gets off at the right stop this time, and the guy he's supposed to knock off the railing gets off the next bus behind him. So Will waits on the overpass, and as the man approaches, who's carrying a bike, Will tries to call out and like have a conversation with him that like somebody's trying to kill him. Whatever he's trying to do, he's trying to do something to not kill this guy. But this guy immediately attacks Will. There's a bit of a scuffle, and the man dives at Will, who ducks under it, and the man goes directly over the railing and into traffic underneath this overpass. So Will runs and gets back on the next bus at the stop and continues to the school. At home, Laura is having AAA fix the flat tire on the car, but she needs to get the lock wrench thing for
it's like a lug nut lock.
Yeah. And she has to go into the glove box for that, and she finds the necklace that was stolen from her on the night of her assault in the glove box. At the
Weird place to keep that.
It is.
For 6 months.
Very.
Correct. At the high school, Simon calls Will and thanks him for the help with the child pornographer and says he is done. One of the troubled teens in this high school gets into a fight with somebody, and Will tries to break it up. But given his tense state when the student rounds on Will punches a teenager in the face.
This is not the first time he breaks up a fight with this specific kid either. This is like the 3rd time that he's had to intervene.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he does rock the shit out of this kid.
Oh, it's a solid fucking hit. Like it's honestly one of the best Nick Cage punches we've ever had.
We've all wanted to hit a teenager this hard.
It reminds me of the Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Mac and Charlie beat the shit out of a bunch of children. Such a good scene. After hitting the student, Jimmy like drags Will into the office and says that's a mandatory 3-week suspension for punching a child.
I would have thought that would be longer.
Because
that's gonna be a legal issue for the school.
100%. That's a liability thing.
This is why I think they may have some leniency, is because I caught this in the beginning, but they never really explicitly say it, I don't think. But the school is like the school that kids go to when they're expelled from school.
Oh, it's like one of those at-risk schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe they have some sort of
I didn't pick up on that.
Because
because they know those kids are going to swing on the teachers already.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if you know this, but teenagers are the worst people in the world, especially
Absolutely.
Like a 16-year-old who will talk so much shit and then just be like, come on, hit a child. Hit a child. I fucking dare you.
Yeah. But what's crazy is after Jimmy informs Will that he's on a mandatory minimum 3-week suspension, he goes, listen to these ads.
So weird.
It is a weird transition, but that's showbiz, baby.
You know what? Big ups to Jimmy for like really working with our ad schedule.
Incredibly helpful. It's amazing how many movies do that for us.
Yeah, I thought there'd maybe be 1 or 2, not 30.
We apparently have to watch the new Haunted Mansion because they have the ad breaks for us in it. I saw everybody talking about that.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there's apparently a story from one of the main characters about how his wife died and they slipped a Baskin Robbins placement ad into the story. I was like, God damn.
Of course.
I want to watch it just for the product placements, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
remember like 20 years ago when people were worried about like they're going to start putting commercials in our movies, and now movies are just commercials?
I remember fucking Wayne's World made a joke about that. Yeah.
So sad when people sell out, man.
As he's like decked out in
his Reebok.
It was the Reebok, and he's like,
that was the
Reebok.
Just
gonna have a sip of the crisp, refreshing taste of Pepsi.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the Pepsi. There was
there's Domino's,
Excedrin back when they were doing the
little yellow different. Yes,
yeah, little yellow different.
Oh my God! Quick aside: at work, we went to lunch for one of my colleagues' birthdays, and I am one of the older people in the group, and I had to explain the concept of. They were talking about when they first got cell phones, and I had to explain the concept of payphones to them. One of the guys was like, I only had a cell phone because I played sports, so I had to call my parents to pick me up. And I was like, I played sports too, but I used a payphone. And he was like, I never had change to use a payphone. I was like, fucking me neither. I would call my home phone, collect, let it ring twice, and hang up. And that was the signal for somebody to come pick me up. And people were like, that's crazy. Then I had to explain the concept of a collect call. And then I had to explain that there was a very famous commercial about people doing basically exactly that with the Bob We Add a Baby Eats a Boy. I'm pretty sure it was an AT&T commercial.
Yeah.
And everybody looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I was like, I'm going to go home and take a bath with a toaster.
And also, I'm going to really blow your mind. It was not a call AT&T commercial. It was 10-10-3-2-1.
There you go.
If
Good
you remember
man.
those fucking, I still have no idea what 10-10-3-2-1 was, because it was not collect calls. It was, I don't know, like a membership thing. I don't fucking know what 10-10-3-2-1 was, but it existed.
Before cell phones were ubiquitous, it was a weird time, folks. Just if you didn't get to live through that. Anyway.
Watch The Wire. It does a really good job.
There you go. So, when Will gets home, he tries to lie to Laura as to why he's home so early. But Laura informs him that Jimmy already called and told her what happened. So she then confronts him about having found the necklace and asks where he got it. When Will won't give her any answers, she leaves to go to rehearsal. As soon as she leaves, 2 detectives show up and arrest Will, saying he is being arrested for the murder of an Alan Marsh.
Now, I misheard it as Alan Moore when I was watching it at first.
Same. Also, we are in Louisiana and nobody said, by God, there's been a murder.
Oh, God, this is giving me the vapors.
Now, to be perfectly clear, in the dossier, the person that Will was sent to kill was a man named something Walzak. He even calls out Mr. Walzak before the confrontation on the overpass. So
he was very confused.
Yeah, I was a little surprised as well when he got arrested for the murder of Alan Marsh. So he's booked in, and in the interrogation room, they show him a video of him walking down the ramp at the bus station, followed by the man that they have identified as Alan Marsh, but who Will knows as Walzak. They don't have the camera angle on the overpass where the incident occurred because supposedly nobody put a tape in the recorder that day for that camera. But they do have Alan Marsh's phone, which has a video from the zoo showing Will there at the zoo. So Will is informed that Alan was an investigative journalist, and Will does exactly what you're supposed to do in this situation and asks for a lawyer. The detectives leave the room, and there is a lieutenant outside, and he's like, let me take a crack at him, which I'm almost positive is actually illegal. Or at the very least, anything that gets said from here on out is 100% inadmissible because Will has asked for a lawyer. Yeah.
You can't see me. I'm making the jerking off motion.
Will even reiterates that he wants a lawyer when this guy comes in, but he just plows ahead. He says, I just need to ask you a series of questions. What is the day after Monday? What is my favorite color? He does these weird non sequitur questions until he ends with the hungry rabbit, and Will responds with jumps. The officer unlocks his handcuffs and gives him a visitor pass, and he says, wait 10 minutes and then leave.
10 seconds.
And was it 10 seconds?
It was 10 seconds.
Pretty quick.
Huh.
It was like count to 10. It was like count to 10 and leave.
Gotcha. That does make more sense. He says if you don't, they'll just kill you and make it look like a suicide. So Will follows these instructions and makes his way out of the police station. One of the detectives that booked him thinks he catches a glimpse of him and checks the interrogation room to see that Will is gone. Will manages to make it out of the police station. Once he's out, the detective runs to the lieutenant and says, where's Will? And the lieutenant says he was in the interrogation room. He's like, no, he's gone. So he plays dumb and rushes off like he's trying to find him. So we cut to Laura at this point, who is talking to Trudy at the orchestra and then tries to call Will. Unfortunately, the detectives have his phone and one of them answers it. We cut to Will, who goes to a payphone and calls Trudy. He asks her to tell Laura that he's going to try and meet her at rehearsal tomorrow, and then he goes to the school that he works at. He uses the computer lab to look up Alan Marsh, who is in fact a decorated investigative journalist. He finds information on where the wake is being held, which is at a local pub. Will's research, however, is interrupted by a group of kids, including the one he punched, vandalizing the school. They come to a weird accord where he's like, I can't remember. He's like, I'm hiding from police, or I got arrested. And they're like, for what? And
he said, I got arrested. Well, he said, I got arrested. The kid said, for what? Swinging on a kid. And then he says, first degree murder. And the kids are like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't see you. You didn't see me.
Yeah. Smart kids.
Yeah.
So the kids take off. Will steals some confiscated cell phones and tries to get some rest on a couch. And then the next day he goes to the orchestra house. He gets Laura's attention from the back, from a back room. He waves her in and explains what's going on. They thankfully don't give us a bunch of exposition. I'll give this movie credit for this. There's no exposition. We get a cut, and she's like, can't we just tell the police? And he's like, some of them are police, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is my favorite way of exposition dumping off screen, is you just cut to the foregone conclusion of the next question
the person
has.
It's really good, especially when there's nothing to clear up for us, the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he tells Laura not to go home, instead to go to the hotel that they go to every anniversary, and he'll meet her there. She gives him some cash and her gun that he didn't know about, and he gives her one of the burner phones with the other phone's number programmed in. The detectives show up at this point, and Will takes off. Laura goes out and does a pretty decent job sort of brushing them off. Now we go to the incredibly Irish bar that Alan Marsh's wake is being held in. It's super wake, to the point where they're raucous and roasting the dead guy in the eulogies and shit, and everybody is violently drunk. It's pretty fantastic.
They're so Irish that the Titanic said, get the fuck out of here.
Will does a couple of things. One, he steals Alan Marsh's press credentials from the little shrine memorial thing that they have set up. And then he poses as Alan's friend and starts talking to some of his other friends. And buying them drinks. So he's digging for information, telling these guys that he had lunch with Marsh and that Marsh had told them about a secret society that dispenses justice and kills people. The guys clown on him a bit, but let him know that Marsh was telling everyone about this and hid his research because he was so paranoid about it, but the friends have no idea where he hid it. They tell him one of Marsh's sources got killed, and that's what set off this sort of spiral. But however, eventually one of the friends calls him out and says, you're not actually Marsh's friend. He assumes that Will is a cop. And at this point, Will notices two of Simon's goons in the bar and takes off. So they chase, and Simon follows in a car. Will manages to lose these guys by pulling off a pretty fucking ballsy move. He crawls off of an overpass and like onto the pillars underneath it.
Yeah.
There does not appear to be a particularly great way down, but he does manage to shimmy down and drop off and then try and run across several lanes of traffic. The goons are still trying to get him, even shooting at him, which is ballsy. On like a major highway with civilian traffic. That is a high visibility fucking move right there.
This is where we get that sick drag, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So Will braves the traffic and manages to avoid getting pancaked by the cars, though narrowly. Unfortunately, the cell phone that he took from the high school falls and is broken at this point. In Will's favor, the driver of the SUV in the beginning and one of Simon's goons fails to avoid getting pancaked by a dump truck driver and just gets obliterated going after Will.
And like not just obliterated, but stuck under the car with the feet dragging for like 40 fucking feet.
It is pretty brutal.
It got an audible gasp from me, which is something that not a lot of like standard action suspense movies do.
With the shit you usually watch, I am a little bit surprised. Good for seeking justice. So we cut to Laura at this point, who's being picked up by a detective. He reminded me of the one of the dudes that played a goon in The Departed, but I'm not certain that it's the same guy, and I wasn't able to confirm it or deny it. Anyway, he tells her that there's new evidence that Will didn't kill anyone. But in the car, we see that the driver is definitely one of Simon's goons. Laura senses something is off and grabs her pepper spray. And as soon as the car stops in traffic, she sprays both of these guys in the face and hops out of the car and runs away.
So suspension of disbelief moment for me here, just because I know how quick
she would be.
She would have some problems. I walked into a room where pepper spray went off like an hour afterwards, and I was still like wheezing, unable to breathe.
Yeah, she would have
in a car. Everybody would be having
everybody, and you're not going to be able to like breathe right for a while after that, unless you dunk your head in milk.
There you go.
2% milk.
2% milk.
So meanwhile, Will is breaking into the press building that Alan Marsh worked at. Laura tries to get a hold of him via the cell phone number, but it does not connect. So she just continues on to the Anniversary Hotel spot.
Right. And he's walking through a print room, like the printing press room at this point, and I was very disappointed that they didn't use that for an action set piece, because I really wanted to see a guy get crushed by a printing press.
I know you did.
As soon as I saw that scene, then that text message made sense, and I was like, oh man, no one's gonna die in there.
Nobody's gonna die in there.
So Will finds Alan's desk and starts rifling through it. There is a very funny scene where somebody's working late on an article and she asks like a grammatical question. It's like, for hyphenated words, are both of the words capitalized? And Will, being a literature teacher, gives the picture perfect answer to this, which I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yes, if both are proper nouns and they have equal, or if
equal weight,
both equal weight, or if they're both proper nouns, was
like
the phrasing.
Homeland Security.
Homeland Security, yeah.
Yeah. So he fucking knocks it out of the park. He steals a bunch of papers and shit that seem to be important from Alan Marsh's desk and takes off. However, after getting the correct answer, this lady that was working late noticed that some stranger was rifling through her recently dead colleague's desk and goes to tell security. Luckily for Will, he worked fast, and by the time security is looking at the security cameras, he is gone. So Will gets out of the press building and goes to a different hotel from the anniversary hotel, and steals a coat from the coat check that has a valet ticket in it, and gets a free getaway car out of it. It's a smart move, actually. I thought this was pretty clever.
The fuck is it? The Richard Stark, aka Donald Westlake, novels starring Parker, his like professional criminal dude. He does some shit like that at the very beginning of the first book, but he does it where he like steals a dude's luggage and then brings it to return it, and then uses that money to buy a watch to make it seem like he's rich enough to open a bank account. And like there's this whole thing, and then he does the stealing somebody's jacket from a coat check and then getting the valet ticket. The good fucking like pot boiler mysteries, those.
This is clever, but in the real world, if you're not aware of this, valets usually bring cars around and leave the car turned on, keys in, and the door open while they go to seek out the person who had the car brought around, and you can just get in one of those motherfuckers and drive off. Ask me about a real life story about that off of recording.
Definitely heard that story.
Same.
I have also worked valet.
Anyway, so Will finds a deserted street and he parks and starts going through what he took from Alan's desk and finds a bunch of receipts for a truck stop. When he goes to said truck stop, he talks to the man inside of the store there, and learns that Alan kept a unit, like a storage unit nearby with a boat in it.
And he's like, this is a rest stop. Where's all your glory holes?
I loved the dude working here.
Yeah.
After an embarrassingly small bribe of $60, the guy's like, Will's like, he owes me some money and I'm trying to collect on it, and he's really ducking me. Can you help me out? And the guy's like, listen, the doors on these storage units, you can just bop them with your car and they'll break and you'll be fine. And he's like, sweet. So Will goes out to do exactly that. While he's doing that, the morning edition of the paper gets dropped off.
And a weird headline on it. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but the headline is ads for Nick Cage fight coming soon.
Oh, shit.
That was a strong one.
That. But that is clever. That's as good as the Hungry Rabbit jumps above the phone number call out that Ryan had.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's some ads for BYU.
It's always BYU. It's
almost always is.
Nobody here can afford you. Student loans are like 18%.
Those Mormons, man, they spread around those advertising dollars. I'll tell you
that. I actually have checked a couple of our episodes just to see what kind of ads we have. It is almost always like roofers and fucking online casinos.
Oh, so we moved away from BYU recently.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, online casinos is more ethical.
Yeah. Oh, and Penn Medical. For some reason, we get a large quantity of ads for Penn Medical.
Because all of our uncles are listening. So
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's actually a little ironic. I will have to explain that to you off air.
but yeah, it's because we got uncles upon uncles who need medicine.
Absolutely. Will busts into the storage unit, finds the boat, finds a little lockbox, and pops it open. Meanwhile, on that morning edition of the newspaper, on top of the bit about our ads, Will's face is featured very prominently as a wanted fugitive. So the guy working the shop makes a phone call to the cops, which means he's a fucking snitch and a rat.
Yeah, don't be those two things.
Will cracks the lockbox and finds documents and a CD. He snags them, gets back in the car just as a cop car pulls up. Will peels out and a chase ensues. And we have one contrivance of expectations here, which I did kind of appreciate. Will is racing towards a train track crossing, and a train is approaching, and you go, Oh yeah, he's gonna beat the train crossing, and then the cop is gonna be stuck on the other side of the train. But Will gets cold feet. It is too tight to make, so he slams on the brakes. He then spins around and plays chicken with the cop car, and the cop blinks first and
I am
swerves.
pretty sure this exact sequence, shot for shot, was in an episode of Dukes of Hazzard.
Probably
makes
more
sense.
than one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only so many ways to
Run away from the cops.
Yeah, especially when it's them Duke boys.
It's them Duke boys.
The cop swerves and crashes into a barricade, but the movie is trying to reinforce Will's innocence enough that we explicitly get a shot of the fact that despite the relatively horrific crash, the cop is fine. I just thought that was funny and unnecessary.
Completely unnecessary.
So, having successfully escaped, Will finds again another deserted street to park and play the CD that he found on the car's like little display, which
wild that has a DVD player in there.
Yeah, he really lucked out.
It has a graphic user interface that allows you to actually navigate that type of media.
Yeah, that was wild because it was a mixed media CD. There's like documents and shit on it too.
Again, wild that this worked out, that he got the exact car he needed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a DVD. That had to have been a digital versatile disc.
The valet did mention it's a really nice car.
Yeah.
So we get the full interview that we saw at the beginning of the film. And this guy is telling Alan about the Hungry Rabbit Jumps organization and how it started and how there are independent cells all over the place, and that Simon is running the cell that he's a part of, and that it started out with good intentions, but Simon has ruined this particular cell. He is just taking out anybody that is a potential threat to uncovering their organization and not just killing the guilty anymore. At some point in the interview, he gets spooked and takes off. The next file includes pictures of Simon and his crew. And as Will is cycling through them, there is a picture of Simon talking to Jimmy, Will's friend. Uh-oh. Bit of a twist here. Jimmy's in on this? A part of the organization with the Hungry Rabbits?
Now, I know you did not like this twist. I sort of did.
I didn't mind the twist. I'm just making fun of the Hungry Rabbit Jumps still. It's not a terrible twist.
I thought in our conversations, I thought you fucking hated the twist.
I didn't hate the twist. I have a quibble with the conclusion of the twist, which we'll get to.
And again, to go back to the first episode, it would have made way more sense if you just made everybody more menacing and this cell like kind of more sinister overall. So you could have had Jimmy be like, yeah, I know this guy who's like, who really needs our help and he can clean this up for us. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that just some of that like aesthetic tone setting that I was talking about earlier would have helped drive that home too.
Absolutely.
You just got some like sexy saxophone music and there's always a smoldering cigarette. Everyone seemed more menacing.
Yeah. So Will, obviously, he goes to Jimmy's house and confronts him with Laura's gun. Jimmy readily admits that he is a part of the organization. Jimmy tells Will that he's the one who got the lieutenant to help Will escape after he was arrested. And Will presses him for Simon's real name. We don't get to see the result of this demand, but we do see Will exit the house and head back out to a stolen vehicle. Another car parked on the street pulls out after him. When Will stops to put an address in the GPS, the guy who is following him holds him up at gunpoint and pulls him out of the car and calls him a pedophile. Will confuses this man by saying the Hungry Rabbit Jumps line, and it turns out this guy was lied to about Will, like Will was lied to about Alan. Will takes this guy's cell phone and runs the guy off. Will calls Simon from this cell phone and hits him with all of the evidence that he collected from Alan Marsh's stash in the storage unit. Simon explains that he has the video from the underpass that exonerates Will from murder. And so they set up a trade. And Will directs him to go to the Superdome and collect a prepaid ticket and sit in the assigned seat. So Simon goes for this. At this point, Jimmy goes to see Trudy to try and find Laura and does manage to locate her. Will calls Simon once he's in his seat at the Superdome and directs him to the concourse, then to a bathroom, then to a hot dog stand. This is the
so
part
this is
where...
also the pissy scene because he tells him to take a leak.
Oh, there you go.
And he doesn't do it in sync. Poor form.
Doesn't. Well, Will forgot to include that in the instructions. That would have been fucking hilarious. Because the whole point of this scene is that Will is just fucking with Simon in the same way that Simon's fucked with him all these times.
Yeah.
It's very good. I very much enjoyed it.
It is solid. It's I'll give it full credit for that one.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this movie, I gotta say.
Yeah, I agree. So, unfortunately for Will and this cleverly devised plan, Jimmy did manage to capture Laura and sends a picture of her being held hostage to Simon, who uses this to coerce Will. Will says that he doesn't have the evidence against Simon on him and will only give it up once Laura is safe. So they go next door to an abandoned mall, which is where Laura is being held. So they approach and they search Will. And of course, Will did have all of the single copy of the evidence on him, which Simon takes from him. And Will says that, he has what he needs. Just let him go. And Simon is like, that's not going to happen. But Will manages to provoke Simon into monologuing a bit. And when the goons go to execute Will and Laura, Jimmy turns and kills a bunch of the goons. This is the only part of the twist that I have a problem with. Will works in a fucking high school, and he John Wicks all of the other goons in this abandoned mall, leaving, Simon, Will, Laura, and himself. And then he is quickly gunned down by Simon. So Laura and Will both manage to run away, and Laura snags a gun off one of the dead goons. They all run through the mall. Simon eventually finds Laura and grabs her, but Will tackles him before Simon can kill her. Will gets the upper hand in this hand-to-hand combat, which is also a little surprising. Unfortunately, Laura is kind of horrified by the violence and distracts him. And then the struggle resumes with Simon getting the upper hand and sending him and Will over this ledge to fall to the floor below. Simon regains his gun at this point and goes to shoot Will, but Laura just lights his ass up from the upper level before he can pull off his execution.
Bye, Pierce.
Bye, Guy Pearce. Solid villain, though.
Yeah.
He always is.
He always
even in Iron Man 3, he was a good villain.
He's just Agent Graves from 100 Bullets in this.
Yeah.
He's even got the shaved head.
Yeah. So Laura and Will run to each other and embrace. Lieutenant Durgan, the lieutenant that released Will earlier when he was picked up for Alan Marsh's murder, shows up at the mall and sees the aftermath and sees Simon dead. Sorry. At this point, we know that Simon's real name is Eugene Cook. The cop says, well, it looks to me like Jimmy and Eugene killed each other. And I don't think, Will and Laura were, ever even there. He does invite Will to join their organization, but Will declines. Durgan is unfazed by this and tells him that if he ever reconsiders, you know where to find him. Laura and Will take off. And we see a news story interviewing Durgan. This is pretty funny because it is like a repeat of exactly what Durgan said when interviewed after the initial informant was killed at the beginning of the film. Like the New Orleans Police Department will do everything that we can to find and bring to justice, the people who did this, blah, blah, blah. Will is exonerated of the murder of Alan Marsh. And then Will goes to the newspaper that Alan worked at later. It must have been a little while because at this point his face is all healed from that last fight in the mall. And he gives all of Marsh's research to one of his old friends, one of the guys we saw at the pub. The guy takes it and then goes to get on an escalator and turns back and says, the hungry rabbit jumps, eh? As he's heading up the escalator, which causes Will to turn back. So it looks like this story is going to get buried after all. This organization is incredibly widespread, turns out. The end. Credits roll. Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
No, definitely not
but
a
not
bad movie.
Bad.
I still wish they would have leaned more into like a film noir cinematic style for it. But like what we got isn't bad. It was solid.
Yeah, what we got isn't bad. They wasted having this set in New Orleans. They did
absolutely squandered completely.
This could have been set this could have been set in Dallas, Texas.
You could have just cut in crowd scenes from Zandelay and it would have been a more New Orleans movie.
Yeah. Now Zandelay was a very New
Orleans movie, yeah. You could not get away from the fact that was in New Orleans.
Listen, just cut in the scene where he's yelling, black it out, black it all out, and he's painting himself.
Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Also, yeah.
Way more New Orleans.
Sunny even?
Sunny?
I didn't see it.
Damn it.
There weren't any hand grenade plastic novelty cocktail cups in this movie. Suspension of disbelief destroyed.
Out of sequence with the timing of the film by several decades, I think.
Yep.
But no, squandered the setting of the film. Fine. Stuck with a stupid catchphrase that they could have easily changed, and a little bit of challenging our suspension of disbelief with a high school superintendent being so good with a gun, despite his participation in this organization.
Yeah, so I'm kind of okay with that because we don't know how long he's been in this organization. We don't even know how old the organization. We just know that it exists, right? So he could have been doing it for 10 years. So I am kind of okay with. I'm okay with you not being okay with it, but I'm also okay with it existing. It doesn't bother me one way or the other.
So here's the thing I want to discuss real quick. It looks like if you're just playing into the standard cycle, if you come through, if you're a real G and you do what they ask and you commit the next murder in the line, you get extended an invitation to join the organization, right?
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Experience with this is different because Simon is going off script, right?
Simon is Breaking Bad, yeah.
There is a journalist that could expose the organization. So Simon is going to be the break in the chain where they use him to off a potential threat to the organization as opposed to paying it forward, but with murder.
Yeah.
So he is a loose end that needs to be snipped at that point. However, it is
55 murders, 55 assaults.
Yeah. It is clear that this organization has several irons in the fire at once. Especially given that they send another saved person after him, telling him that, Will is a pedophile that needs to be executed. So it's a little messy, but I do it bothered me at first, but I understand why Simon was like, we've got to take out Will because there's no way to keep him thinking that he just killed a child pornographer.
Right. Because it's a very public murder at this point.
Very public. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like some greater good shit at this point.
Yeah, just like Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
So that does track. They just picked the wrong one for it. But also, the part that doesn't really make sense there is that Jimmy, a long-standing to a certain degree member of the organization, is likely the one who put all of this in motion. Now, he explicitly says how he saved Will from getting murdered, but you have to assume Jimmy is the one who potentially put the organization onto Will's case in the first place, right?
Yeah, that does seem to be what it's implying.
So why would Simon do this with somebody who's essentially, getting a friends and family discount here? The fact that Simon didn't see Jimmy's betrayal coming is an indictment of Simon's particular level of base cunning, I guess, here as a criminal mastermind. So it's maybe a little messy, but overall did not ruin my enjoyment of the film. It was intriguing. I was interested in it. I have quibbles with little bits that could have been solved with another 15 minutes of discussion in the writer's room. But given the experience of the writers in this film, this was decent.
Yeah, for
not a bad attempt.
Yeah, for one
it does have me excited
time.
to check out Even Money, though.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a must watch for me at this moment. Just watching Danny DeVito, I don't know, counting cars or some shit. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like what it might be.
So, yeah, there you go. Not bad. Finally, a stretch that none of us had watched before that wasn't an absolute slog. I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this film, just minor criticisms, and those are easily ignorable in watching this. This is entertaining enough. If you're bored, I certainly would put this on the recommend list.
Yeah, this movie to me reminds me of, like, do you listen to Pod Yourself the Wire?
Nah.
No.
There was a podcast called Pod Yourself a Gun, and then they finished The Sopranos, so they went into The Wire, but just called the podcast Pod Yourself the Wire.
Cool.
But they give every single episode of either The Sopranos or The Wire a B+, and they always kind of explain it away. It's just always a B+. And like this to me is a movie that would, like, I could be like, this movie is a B+, but if we did that gag, it'd have to be like, next, we all fucking hated it. We never want to watch it again. B+.
B+.
Well, no, it does still kind of work for, I mean, we're not stealing a bit from another podcast.
No. But it just this movie reminds me, it's like, it is a very B+ movie.
Exactly.
I actually gave it a C+, personally. Those were my exact words when the credits rolled. I was like, all right, C+.
Yeah, we found a lot of that. Like, a lot of Cage's filmography is it's like Cool Runnings. It's not too good, it's not too bad, it's fine. It's
Cool Runnings is a B+.
Yeah.
It's got John Candy in it.
It's just
got the egg.
Sorry to throw another fucking Family Guy reference. What was that movie? It wasn't too good, wasn't too bad. Cool Runnings. Cool Runnings. But yeah, no, a lot of the films seem to hit that mark. And at this point, it's gotten rather refreshing, in my opinion, especially when we have a rough run.
We did have a rough run there for a couple.
I am happy for the B+.
I mean, like, in contrast to Trespass, this movie's an A.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I mean, we can't start doing that, because that's a
slippery
slope.
That is a very slippery slope.
Yeah, no, there is one A+ movie that we have watched so far, and that is Moonstruck. There's like maybe
like an
two
A++.
There's
like
are
maybe
you telling me that Face Off isn't an A+?
I was gonna give it an A. I was like, it's a great movie, but it's not Moonstruck.
All right,
that's my personal opinion.
We can debate this separately when
I think we
rundown of the Holy Trinity.
Yeah, we're gonna have to litigate this at some point.
Yeah, because I think that we peaked mega early by being like, oh, Nick Cage, we've never seen Moonstruck. This is probably gonna be like a cute, fun movie. It's like, oh no, this is the best movie we're probably gonna watch.
It is an undeniably strong movie, and it is one of the only ones you could bring to that fight that would have a chance of that we could make content out.
It's the only movie that we've watched that my mom wouldn't argue with our assessment of. My mom, if we said
that's a big demographic for this podcast.
My mom would be like, "No, Moonstruck was good. All that other stuff sucked."
Wait, have you made your mom watch Between Worlds yet?
Absolutely not. No, I don't talk about movies with my mom. My mom has gotten brainworms about movies and music over the years. She used to have pretty okay taste, and it's gotten god awful.
Wait, what's her favorite artist right now? I'm just curious.
It's probably some radio fucking bad country shit where they talk about sitting on a dock and drinking beer, even though she's not.
Tried that in a small town.
Oh my god, I got into an argument with her about that shit like a week ago. I'm not gonna relitigate this one.
Nope.
Yeah, that's a nope.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
And as a solid transition, Rich, what are we watching next?
Yeah, what fresh hell do we have ahead of us?
Man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. What's going on?
It's going to be man-made horrors, but it's the good kind of man-made horrors.
Okay.
Ooh. Because
is it a Lovecraft adaptation?
We're watching Bringing Out the Dead, baby.
Oh fuck, that's even better.
Ryan has been
I've been
for this one.
Champing at the bit for this one. I love this movie so much. This is like a top 5 movie in general for me, not just Nick Cage.
Which one's the oh Jesus. Which one's the Lovecraft one?
It's Color Out of Space. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were leading in with the with the horrors beyond comprehension. But here's a little tip: the horrors behind comprehension in that movie, it's the color purple.
Oh,
but
it's the color out of space that's supposed to be undescribable. It's just purple.
I am so excited for this. Between we get Cage, we get Scorsese, we get Schrader.
Peep that fucking cast list.
We get Patricia Arquette. We get a Sizemore. We get John.
We have a
Goodman.
built-in.
Yeah, Goodman's in there.
We have a built-in Sopranos reference.
Wait, has all of these people have been in
previous movies that we've watched? I think. What was Patricia
Arquette? I think she was like a side character in Moonstruck. No, I'm wrong. Shit, I feel like we watched her in something. Or did I watch? Or did I just watch Little Nicky again?
I think you watched Little Nicky again. All right, I'll pull up her IMDb.
No, it's not. The only thing I have clicked on for her is Bringing Out the Dead. I must have just watched Little Nicky again.
That's fair.
Who the fuck am I thinking of then?
Yeah, I didn't think we'd seen Patricia Arquette before. We have seen Ving Rhames before.
Yeah.
We got Ada Turturro in this. Janice from Sopranos, which is great. Sizemore, I always love to see a Sizemore. Ving Rhames, of course, from Kiss of Death.
Kiss of Death, yeah. This also has like one of the most criminally underrated soundtracks of a Scorsese movie.
Phenomenal. Scorsese even voices the dispatcher.
He voices one of the dispatchers. There are multiple, because this takes place over several sleepless nights where Nick Cage is slowly going insane because of guilt from people he hasn't been able to save as an EMT. I
was going to say as an EMP.
As an EMP, he's an electromagnetic pulse.
Taking a lot of electronics out, and that probably would result in a lot of people dying. All right, I am excited for this. I know Ryan's excited for this.
I'm so fucking excited.
Oh, and I was thinking of Robin Bartlett was also in City of Angels.
Correct. That was the one who was in Shutter Island, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Moonstruck.
Well, yes.
But that was the side character, and that's who I got confused with.
Gotcha.
Hey, man, solid next movie to review. Not a bad one this week.
Exemplary next movie to review, in my opinion.
Exactly. Things are looking up, folks.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much am I going to hate this movie?
Not at all. I think you're going to think it fucking rules.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm about it.
Yeah. Like, it's not scary or anything. It's just sad and weird and very funny in some parts.
Okay, because I'm not going to lie. I'm dreading Mandy.
Yeah, you should dread Mandy.
I'm dreading Mandy.
Mandy's going to make you...
Fantastic fever
Mandy's going to make you deeply uncomfortable in at least 1 or 2 scenes.
I'll get you. We'll let microdose some.
I was gonna say, are we gonna make him dose for that? That's gonna make him lose his mind.
Just drop a cap or 2 and watch Mandy, and you'll experience the death of your ego. It'll be fine.
Wait, hold on.
That does also have a great soundtrack with some King Crimson on it. So
it does have a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
There's a movie that when we do Defriend or Defoe, that I am going to just nope the fuck out of. Which one is it?
Antichrist? Is it the one where they crush his dick?
Yes, Antichrist.
Dick with a brick.
Von Trier is actively like looking for a girlfriend on like social media right now.
Oh, really? And that's funny because that man is like one of the most divorced men.
I kind of feel like trying to catfish Lars von Trier. Just as a bit.
Yeah, as a bit. It would be a bit funny.
But no, hey, maybe we're on the upswing, folks. This is not bad.
Definitely on the upswing with this one.
I mean, like whatever comes next. Who knows? Yeah. We had a film that we didn't hate. We have a film that you love and will probably enjoy very much so. And so we got to see how the next one goes. Maybe
like shit, I might actually watch that once we get off this call to prep myself because I'm going to watch it 2 or 3 times this week. That's how much I fucking love Bringing Out the Dead.
Well, you know what okay. For our listeners that are time traveling, today is August 17th. So you know what's coming up in a few short weeks that we're going to have to do.
Yeah, fucking 3-parter or our most bleeped episode or just a Patreon only one.
We might have to fucking push that one up because we need to align it with the release with that day. Because we can't record it week of. We're not doing a week.
No. We're not. Oh shit! I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we have to like record it a week or 2 ahead of time.
I'll have to release it on Monday too, because Monday is September 11th.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Mondays.
Am I right?
One day we will let our listeners in on this
Mondays. Joke. I hate them.
Well, I think that is going to do it for us here. While you're I
was about to say Josh has hit the pre-roll, so
I had. While you're waiting for our next episode, please feel free to check us out on social media. You can find us on Xing it up at cagefight_pod. So go ahead and get a glimpse of that shit show while it's still around. We have a Patreon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we do. It's patreon.com/NickCageFight. $1 a month gets you every episode without ads. We are adding in a tier. It's going to be like, whatever current tier, but we're going to add in like however long this cut is. It's just going to get uploaded the day of. So you're going to get early access to it as well as completely uncut, including all the behind the scenes bullshit. And yeah, sign up for $1 and then message me, whatever the fuck they say in this movie. What did they say in this movie again? It's so dumb I forgot already.
The hungry rabbit jumps.
The hungry rabbit jumps.
Hold off on that. All right, fine. I won't do that as my bit then.
Damn it! Sorry. I will.
There's some suspense now. I'm building suspense.
Yeah, there's so many things that could happen with this bit right now.
There's a few. And we have a Facebook, but it's just for uncles. We're not going to tell you how to get to it, because if you're an uncle, you will know instinctually. And you will also think that we're not a podcast, but are actually Nick Cage. So those are always fun. So yeah, join us next time for Bringing Out the Dead. And as always, listeners, we appreciate you.
The hungry rabbit says bye-bye.